This video is brought to you by Squarespace. This video is a part 2 to my Clip Studio Paint brush guide. This video will cover creating a brush and also uploading it to the asset site. If you want to see part 1 that covers all the brush settings in Clip Studio, head over to the link in the top right corner or the link in the description. Before we head into the tutorial, I'd like to thank this video sponsor, Squarespace. So I cannot emphasize how important it is to have a website of your own as an artist, because having my own website is where people contact me for all sorts of stuff. So Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to create a website best suited for you. So they've made it super easy. They have this new guided design system. It's called Squarespace Blueprint. Just pick out the pages you need and you got like all of these professionally curated layouts and super cool styling options with just a few clicks, and then boom, you got your very own website. This one includes optimized SEO tools, which increases your discoverability on search engines and stuff. So let's say you're trying to sell a product, this increases your discoverability on search engines. And let's say you went through that process and want to edit your website. Well, Squarespace has a fluid engine. This is the next generation website editor from Squarespace. It's super easy to just customize every design detail that you want. They use a drag and drop technology, which is available on both desktop and mobile. So you can edit your website to fit your needs. You can look at my website. It doesn't look like any of the templates because I had the freedom to customize it to fit my needs. I wanted it to be quite minimal and focus on my artwork. And also, if you got stuff to sell, Squarespace comes with an online store. Yeah, you can just add a shop page, put your stuff on, and then just start selling. Whether you're selling physical goods, or if you want to sell digital content, or even just services, Squarespace has the tools that you need to start selling. So get started. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial. Have fun creating your own website, try it out, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/SammyJen to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let's make a custom brush in Clip Studio Paint. This was supposed to be a short, but I realized the explanation would be pretty long, so a whole video it is. To make a custom brush in Clip Studio Paint, just hit this button right here to duplicate a brush, adjust the settings, and now here you have a completely new and unique brush. But obviously you want to make something that's more than that. You want to make something that's maybe like this, where the tip of the pen is actually a little guy. Or maybe a brush that's a really cute pattern. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to register a material and how to create brushes. I'm going to separate these brushes by a few types. So the first are brushes that you use for sketching and drawing, much like these. The second is sprays, decorative brushes, and continuous patterns. First up, I want you to go to Window, Material, and then select any one of these. The material panel should pop up. This is what it looks like. And this is just all the stuff that's in Clip Studio Paint. I suggest making a new folder. Hit this button right here, and then make a new folder. You can name it anything you like. For this, I will call it Brushy. I just had this download folder open, so when I made a new folder, this appeared as a subfolder of download. If I close the download folder, it'll disappear into that folder. So scroll up and move that into all materials. And here it is. This is where you're gonna store all of your custom brushes, custom assets, etc., etc. Just so it's easier to find, and if you're reinstalling Clip Studio Paint or moving to another device, or you want to back up your assets, it's better to have everything in one place. So now a folder has been created. Let's make a brush tip. The first brush I'm going to make is a brush for drawing like this. Let's say I want to create a brush that can make many lines at once. Maybe use it for like hair texture, fur, grass, stuff like that. So it should be several dots. Just basically many hard round brushes stroking at once. This is good. Or you could just, draw anything you like, but make sure that whatever you draw, it can be anywhere on the layer, but it has to be the only thing that's on the layer. If you accidentally put something like, say, down here, this is your brush tip. This whole thing would be a brush tip. So just to make sure that there's no other particles on the layer, just use a lasso, select your brush shape, and then hit this button, which would delete everything outside of the selection. I forgot to mention before we move on, there are two types of brushes when it comes to color. Brushes where you can change its color, like this, and brushes where you cannot change the color. Like this brush, I pick other colors, it's not affecting the brush at all. So if you want this brush to be able to change color, first up, make sure it is set to complete black, okay? Hit the lock transparency, select black, and then put the paint bucket down. Next step is very important. Convert this layer to gray. You can right click, hit convert layer, change color to gray. Or you can go to the layer property panel and just select from the drop down menu right here. Now that I know it's solid black, the layer is set to gray, we can now register this as a material. Go to Edit, Register Material, and Image. Give it a name if you'd like. I'm too lazy to rename it. Tick Use for Brush Tip Shape. Go to Materials, and then select your folder. And also important, give it a tag. If you don't give it a tag, you will have a hard time finding this brush tip when you're trying to apply it to a brush. So just type out anything that you would remember. I just use my name. Hit OK. Go to Material, and in my folder right here is my little brushy brush. And I'll just duplicate the regular G Pen brush because its settings are all set to default. I'll hit this duplicate button right here. You can give it a name if you'd like. I'm calling this Hair. Sure, I'll call it Hair. And you can change its icon as well. I'll give it a ruled line icon. Or if you'd like, you could upload your own image. And you can change the background color. Just, make it a little cuter. Hit OK. Now here it is. When I select other brushes, you can see that this icon right here would change along with it. Now let's go into the subtool detail. Head over to Brush Tip, switch over to Material, add a material, and here is why giving a tag is important. You don't want to scroll through all of these materials, right? Just go to the search bar, type in my tag, which is Semi, and here it is. There's my dots, okay. And there it is, done, easy peasy. You got your very own custom brush. Now just play with the settings and make sure that this is exactly how you want it. Okay, cool, I like these settings. Hit save all settings as default, please remember that. And then also make sure that you did have the layer set to gray, and I did. I can change the colors of the brush. If you forgot to do a setting onto your material, just go to the material panel, double click on it, and this will bring up everything. You can change some settings for it as well and add more tags if you'd like. You can also drag and drop this onto your canvas if you want to edit it. I'm just going to quickly show you what happens if on this gray layer, even though it's a gray layer, your brush isn't set to black but in gray instead. I will register this. So I've registered it, I've made it a brush. I'll have the sub color set to blue and the main color set to a dark red. And what comes out is both of these colors are mixed. What appears is purple. This can be a little bit annoying if this is not the effect that you're trying to make, but it is useful for other things. I'll duplicate it again and let's make a spray with it. Open up the subtool detail, turn on the spraying effect, and play around with the settings. So even though I intended for this to be a stroke brush, I can make it a spray as well by just enabling spraying effect. Okay, but let's try and make something a little more intricate, just like this petal brush right here. I can change the main color and the sub color, and this would show up in the brush. It has a spraying effect of these petals, but you can see that each petal has some difference to them, like this one compared to this one, or this one. So moving on to making a brush with multiple materials and changing to colors. Just to make sure that this will be a gray layer, go to Layer, New Layer, Raster Layer, and then select Gray. So anything that you want to change along with your main color, make sure it's black, and anything that you want to change with your sub color, make sure it's white. Make sure it's not gray or else the colors will be mixing unless that is the effect that you want. So for this brush, I want it to have multiple brush tips, so I will duplicate this layer several times. I guess, yep, that's the amount of brush tips I'm gonna make. One brush tip per one layer. Whew, now that's all done. I really like the settings of this petal brush, so I'm just gonna duplicate theirs. And I'm gonna call mine Silly Flower, because it looks silly. I'm not gonna go with their custom icon, I'll just go with Clip Studio's default. Change the background color. Yeah, hit OK. And here it is. Now I'll open up the subtool detail, go to brush tip, hit the first one and shift the last one. Delete them all. Goodbye. Now let's add my own and select the ones that I want. Hit OK. And here it is. Let me just delete all of these layers. Create a new layer. Here they are. But let's see if the color changing works. Oh, it does. Make sure the main color is selected. And here it is. It's so cute. Now you too can make your very own cute brush. Now earlier I've mentioned brushes where you can't change the color. Like this brush. No matter what color I pick, it will always be the color that is set upon on this brush. How do you make that? So just use a color layer, register it as a material, and it will always be that color. It's useful for something like this push pin. Links are in the description, don't worry. Next up is a continuous brush like this one. How would you start? By just making a pattern, making sure that the start and the ends connect seamlessly. You can see what this brush tip looks like by looking into this preview box right here. So let's try and make one. Sadly, Clip Studio Paint doesn't have that live pattern. Kind of like in Adobe Illustrator or Infinite Painter, it would make drawing this a lot easier. Yes, I know that Clip Studio Paint does have this option, but that's not what I'm looking for. We're not trying to make a pattern, we just want to see the live start and endings of what we're drawing on. So you have to do this manually by chopping up the ends and just making sure that it lines up with the start. I'm not good at ornament art, just pretend that this is a really nice lacy design pattern. Okay, it's not seamless, but I give up. Cool, awesome. Now let's try this out. I'm just gonna duplicate one of these brushes that I have because the setting will be similar. Create. I'm just gonna call it brush. So creative. Give it a pattern. How about yellow? Open Subtool Detail, go to brush tip, delete that B, open up that material. Oh no, that's not what I want. Okay, I got it. I just changed the angle. Oh, it's pretty seamless. It is pretty seamless. Can you tell? Can you tell? Anyway, yeah, you can make a seamless brush just like that. Just takes, you know, a lot more time. So I'm just going to go back and edit this flower brush a bit. I realized that those tiny dot particles would look better if they were all on the same layer. Now we have our very own custom brush. The next best thing to do is to share it on the asset site, so everyone else can use it as well. First up, we have to register this brush as a material, because if we look at our folder in the material panel, all we have are the assets but not the actual brush. You want to know how you do that? You just click and drag your brush to the panel. Done, there it is, Silly Flower Brush. I will do the same with my other brush. And I think I'll call it Fancy Brush. Now we have our brushes registered. Head over to Clip Studio. You can either hit this button up here or go to the Clip Studio icon and open Clip Studio. This is version 3.0's interface. If you're using the older version, it'll look a little different, but they both have the same buttons, which is Manage Materials on the left side. Here's all the brushes that I have. So I have my Silly Flower Brush and my Fancy Brush. So first up, you may want to sync this to cloud. So if you want to reinstall Clip Studio Paint or load these brushes onto a different device, you don't have to copy paste files. You can just open up from the cloud. Switch these on, hit OK, and go to the cloud tab on the top. So here's my Silly Flower and my Fancy Brush. If I sign in and open up Clip Studio on another device, like let's say I bought a new laptop and I load up Clip Studio Paint, I can just open up this cloud, download the brushes, and just use them. Now let's upload this Silly Flower to the asset site. Either right click or hit the arrow, manage materials, and publish to assets. Here you can type in all the information, you can give it a new thumbnail, and in this information box, you could show a preview or give off any explanations. As an example, this is what I've uploaded to the asset site. This is an auto action, this is the thumbnail, and here are the images. I suggest if you have a step-by-step, don't do what I did, which is having an image. Well, you can, but not only have these images, you must have text that is typed out. Clip Studio Asset Site uses auto-translate functions because a lot of Japanese and Korean artists also use this website, and just to make it very seamlessly, all of the description that is typed out right here is auto-translated to whatever language you have set. So make clear instructions to your asset if it needs instructions, and make sure you have texts as well. So I'm still gonna call it Silly Flower, but we're gonna capitalize the first letter because we're official. The thumbnail is 240 by 240 pixels. Let's save temporarily with the green button up there, go back to draw, and create a new canvas. It was 240, right? 240 by 240. Okay, not the most creative thumbnail, but I think it just gets the point across. I'll just save this and also make a preview image. Save that. Head back to Clip Studio. Go to Manage Material. Manage that material. Publish to Asset. Select File. Description. Silly Flower Brush. Some tags. So flower, cute, comic, whatever you want that when people search it'll show up. And this brush doesn't need an explanation on how to use. I will just give this example image. Now it's done. Save and proceed. Now you can either charge people for this by charging Clippy points or make it free. I just prefer to give it out for free. Scrolling down, uncheck Clip Studio Paint debut or debut. I'm not sure what kind of Clip Studio Paint version this is, but I once uploaded an asset. I had this checked on and they pulled my asset from the site. They told me to please uncheck this. So moving forward, I will always uncheck this. Check this box if your material is 18+. This is obviously not 18+. And I understand, and upload. Now hit upload. This will take you to your uploads page. On the right, you have a drop-down menu. Hit preview and post. This is a preview of what the page looks like, just for you to make sure that everything is okay. You haven't missed out anything. It's got a thumbnail. Yep, looks good to me. So I'll hit publish on the top right there. And finish. It's uploaded. If you want to edit that page, you would have to go back to Clip Studio and edit through here and manage materials, not on the website. You cannot edit it on the website. It will take a while to pop up, but it will be in this line right here, the new section. If you ever want to check your uploads, just go to the asset site. On the top right, drop down menu of your account, go to uploads, and this will list all of the assets that you have uploaded. Sometimes people will even give you gifts. Like, people gifted me Clippy points. I have Clippy points because people donated them to me. I don't know why, but I got a lot and I spent it all. If you want to share it to your friends, go into your asset and then just copy the URL, paste it to your social media, let everyone download and use this brush. I'll do the same for my fancy brush. There will be links in the description if you want to download them. If you've seen my YouTube short on registering material using Torbox that needed a whole auto action, that only applies if you're using something from Adobe Illustrator. So let's say that this is the brush tip that I want to use in Clip Studio Paint. First up, you have to make sure that the black is solid black. You can see in color right here, it's this weird grayish color. If I open up the color picker, you can see it's right here. Make sure it's down here to complete solid black. Now hit copy and go to Clip Studio Paint and hit paste. This is what shows up. It's, you know, doing its weird thing. Just go to Clip Studio Paint, preferences, command, and change this to raster image. Let me undo and then paste again, and here it is. Oh, it's too small. Let me just make this larger. So what this auto action does is move this out a little bit just to make sure that it gets all of these pixels at the edges as well. You can see that there's whiteness, so the next step is to convert brightness to opacity. Now it's gone. Then to change the layer to gray and then register as material. So I'll do that again, hit paste, run the auto action. So it just moved it all the way there, change the layer to gray, and then pop up this window for me. Also, something that I just realized after creating this video is that if you want the bounds to be more extended, like you don't want the brush tip to be this entire thing, you want there to be a gap. Just go to selection, pick the rectangle, and then go as much as you want. Edit, register material, and you can see that there is that gap right there. I just realized that. And that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just comment down below. I will try my best to answer them. If I don't answer, that means I don't know the answer. I'm so sorry. If you made your very own custom brush and you uploaded it to the asset site, share your username that you have on the asset site. You can search for assets made by a specific user by typing in user, colon, and then their username. So here is all the assets that I've made. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.